Hello and welcome. This is a lecture on Lagrange's interpolation formula. This formula is a part of the numerical methods, and using this formula, we can find out the functional value of an unknown point. So let's dive into the problem, right? So given are the values of x naught, x1, x2, and so on, some xi, so on again, and xn. So there are a total of n plus 1 x values which are given. And corresponding to each of these x values, there is a y value also given. So y naught, y1, y2. For xi, it is yi. And, and at the last, we have got yn, and that gives us n plus 1 y values, right? So of course here we need to like think of x, the relation between x and y, as yi is equal to f of xi for some f. This f is unknown to us. Now we would want to keep this f as unknown. I mean, we don't really want to find the f right now, but based on the values x naught, x1, x2, and so on up to xn, we would want to find out what is y when y is f of x for some given x. So we are asking, let's say x is given, small x is given, what is y? Right? So that is the question that we are trying to answer. Now, let us say at the outset that the value of y over here, the required value, right? So this is the required value, the required value. The required value of y is dependent on y1, y2, yi as well, all the way up to yn. So ya is dependent on each of these values. And we somehow, using the Lagrange's interpolation formula, we somehow, take a weighted average, some kind of an average of y1, y2, yi, and yn. So this average is relied on the concept of barycenter. We can go into the details of that, but let's skip that for another video. Let's directly jump on at the contribution of yi in y. So once we have this idea, what we can do is that we can substitute I is equal to 0, I is equal to 1, and so on, right? Okay. Now, the contribution of yi in y is given as follows. So it is going to be x minus x naught multiplied by x minus x1, right? And this product is again multiplied by x minus x2, so on, all up to x minus xi minus 1. And then we skip the x minus xi, and then this is multiplied by x minus xi plus 1 multiplied by everything, right, up to all the way up to x minus xn. All right, and then this product is considered as the numerator, whereas the denominator would be xi minus x naught, xi minus x1, so on and so on, x minus xi minus 1, xi minus xi minus 1. And then we skip the xi minus xi term, right, because that's by definition of the barycentric weight, right? And we again start from xi minus xi plus 1 dot 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 all the way up to x minus xn, xi minus xn, right? And this entire term is the contribution of yi, right? So we multiply this term by y. right? So this particular term is going to repeat in our interpolation formula when we use different values of I. Okay, now let's try to solve a problem and try to get the hang of it. All right. So given, let's say there is a given question in which x naught is equal to 0, y naught is equal to negative 4, x1 is equal to 2, y1 is equal to 2, x2 is equal to 3, y2 is equal to y2 is equal to 14, x3 is equal to 6, and y3 is equal to 158. And we are curious to know what happens to y when x is equal to 4. Correct? So that is the question. We have got like n as equal to 3 in our problem over here. So n is equal to 3. Now, in order to solve this problem, what we need to do is we need to use a particular formula. Now, let's write down the formula here, right? So, this is going to be our formula. Okay. Now, we are going to use this formula here. Now, how do we use this formula? Right? So, the value of x is going to be equal to 4, right? So, x appears in the numerator so many times, right? So we'll try to find out this particular value first, right? Okay. So x minus x1, x minus x2, x minus x3. So the way I like to do it is I write as 4 minus something, 4 minus, leave a space, 4 minus, leave a space, divided by. I'll come back to that later. And then x naught minus 1, x naught minus 2, x naught minus 3. Let's see, x naught is equal to 0, correct? So we should write here 0 minus something, 0 minus something, 0 minus something. Okay, so far so good. And then we have got x1, x2, x3, right? So this x1, x2, x3 are repeating in the numerator once and it is repeating in the denominator once, right? So we'll try to find out what x1, x2, x3 are, right? Okay, let's look at it. x1, x2, x3 are 2, 3, and 6. So I'll write 2, 3, 6, 2, 3, 6. And then this entire thing is multiplied by y naught. So y naught is equal to negative 4. Correct? So we'll write negative 4 here. Negative 4. Okay. All right. So now let's, the calculation has become very easy now. So 2 multiplied by 1 multiplied by negative 2 divided by negative 2 multiplied by negative 3 multiplied by negative 6 entirely multiplied by negative 4. And this should give us negative 4 upon 9. Right? So let's skip this value. This is the contribution of the first term. Similarly, let's try to calculate the other values as well. Let's be a little patient in putting the values. So here as well, x, we know what x is. So the numerator is pretty much the same. 4 minus something, 4 minus something, 4 minus something. And in the denominator, this time instead of x naught in the previous time, we look into x1. So x1 is equal to 2, right? So what we'll try to write down here is 2 minus something, 2 minus something, and then 2 minus something. Now, what are these some things, right? So denominator says there are x naught, x2, and x3. And the numerator says x naught, x2, x3. Very good. That's a very good sign. So let's look at x naught, x2, and x3. X naught is 0, x2 is 3, x3 is 6. So 0, 3, 6. Right? So 0, 3, 6. 0, 3, 6. Again in the denominator, 0, 3, 6. And this entire thing is multiplied by y1. And the value of y1 is equal to 2. The value of y1 is equal to 2. So what do we get? We get 4 multiplied by 1 multiplied by negative 2 and divided by 2 multiplied by negative 1 multiplied by negative 4. The entire thing is multiplied by 2, and that gives us negative 2, right? Okay, so we'll keep this value, right? At last we require all of these values. Okay, now we will calculate this term, right? So this term, I'm putting a flower or braces, right? Second bracket. So this value over here, you see again, there is an x here, there is an x here, there is an x here. We know that the x is 4, correct? So we know that the x is 4. So we write 4 minus something multiplied by 4 minus something multiplied by 4 minus something divided by x2 minus something, x2 minus something, again x2 minus something. We need to know what x2 is. Let's recall. X2 is 3. Okay, so let's substitute this value 3 here. 3 minus something, 3 minus something, and then 3 minus something. Right? Okay. Now, inside this brackets, as you can see in the numerator, we have got x0, x1, and x3, while in the denominator, we have got x0, x1, x3. Wow, they're equal, right? Okay, so let's find out what x0 is, what x1 is, what x3 is, and let's substitute the values. So it's 0, 2, and 6. 0 to 6. I'm going to use the green pen for this. 0, 2, 6, the numerator. 0, 2, 6 in the denominator. Okay. And finally, we need to know what y2 is. Y2 is equal to 14. So we are going to write down 14 here in the bracket at the last, right? Okay. All right. So now we want to calculate this. So this becomes 4 multiplied 2 multiplied negative 2 divided by 3 multiplied by 1 multiplied by negative 3 multiplied by 14 at the last, right? So this is going to be equal to things get cancelled out, and it becomes 224 divided by 9. 224 divided by 9. So this is the value again. We're going to keep it aside for us to deal with later. All right. Now, finally, we reach the last term here. It is a tedious job. I should acknowledge it. Okay. Now, let's see. Again, we have got x minus something, x minus something, and x minus something. X is 4, so 4 minus something, 4 minus something, and then 4 minus something else. Divided by, we see that there is an x3, and another x3 in the denominator. So x3 is equal to 6, right? So we see that x3 is equal to 6 on the left side of the screen. So x3 is equal to 6. We'll write 6 minus something multiplied by 6 minus something multiplied by 6 minus something else. We don't know that. Well, we know that there is there is x naught, x1, and x2 in the denominator, and of course in the numerator as well there is x1, x naught, x1, and x3, right? It's a very centric form, right? Okay, so we need to identify what those values are: x0, x1, and x2. So x0 or x naught is 0, x1 is 2, x2 is 3. So 0 to 3. 0 to 3 in the numerator, 0 to 3 in the denominator, and finally we have to find out what y3 is, right? So if you look here in the expression, right, so this is y3. We need to find out what y3 is. Okay, y3 is 158. Y3 is 158. So multiplied by 158, right? Okay. So we get 4 multiply 2 multiply 1 divided by 6 multiply 4 multiply 3 and multiplied by 158. Things get cancelled out, and we shall get 158 divided by 9, right? So these are the four values we get. Therefore, what we can write is as follows. We can write y is equal to The first value, remember the first value was negative 4 upon 9, right? Negative 4 upon 9 plus the second value was negative 2, right? So negative 2, I think it's better if we put the brackets over here in the beginning so we don't get confused with the signs. Okay, the third value is 224 by 9. So 224 divided by 9 plus the last one we obtained as 158 by 9. So simple calculation here gives the value of y as equal to 40. Therefore, when x is equal to 4, then y is equal to 40. And here is our answer. All right. In order to recap, I'll post the entire formula here, right? So what do we have? The value of x1, x2, x3, x0, all of these values will be given, right, in the question. And the corresponding y1, y0, y1, y2, y3 values will be given in the question, right? They may be given in the form of a table, right, in which like and the xi's will be in the rows first row and the yi's will be in the second row, right? It could be in the form of a table, or it might be possible that it is given in this form: f of x naught is equal to y naught and so on, correct? So in whichever form the value is, the given data is given, there will be a question. The question will be to find f of x, right, for some x. This sum x will be given in the question to you, and then we are going to use this formula to find out the answer. Okay, thank you for watching.